Hey folks, Deano here again, this time with another Gunpla model kit. Yeah, this is one, the moment I seen it advertised, because of course, any of you who watch me for any length of time know that Gunpla, I've only just recently got into it, so I wasn't caught up on upcoming releases. I only knew what had already came out. So yeah, the moment I noticed this guy was up for pre-order everywhere, I had to get it. Like, the RX-78-2, he is the granddaddy, the grandfather of the entire Gundam franchise. It was the very first. It predates Gundam Wing, predates all the rest of them. So yeah, and to make things even better, this is the 2.0. I was very, very close to buying the original and reviewing it. But luckily, I realised this guy was coming out. And I have to be honest, even though I am a Gundam Wing fan, first and foremost, this guy may have dethroned my real grade Epion. I'm going to be honest. But yeah, this is a real grade, which means it's basically what a Gundam would be like in real life. The original real grade, for those of you who don't know, the very first one was the RX-78-2, and it was based off a statue that was in Japan at the time. That statue, of course, I believe is now gone, unfortunately, because if I ever went to visit Japan, something like that would be one of the first things I would want to go and see. But yeah, this is the version 2.0, which basically revolutionises the entire real grade line. And boy does it ever. There's a couple of little nitpicks, but to be honest, I think people have like overstated it, over exaggerated it, because once the figure is in your hand, you realise that all those close-ups people were doing of like, oh, this part of the head doesn't fit properly and all the rest of it, it's literally not noticeable at all when you actually have it in hand. So yeah, without further ado, let's get him off the turntable and take a look at the box. So yeah, as always, it's a standard Bandai model kit box. It's a bit heavier because obviously real grade is quite the task to build. This guy not so much, surprisingly. The parts all fit together really well, and I managed to get it done in just under a day, time-wise. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. Link is in the description if you want to purchase this guy. Sellers on AliExpress have still got him. He's a little bit pricier than retail currently. In fact, I paid a little bit more than retail as well. I paid 40 quid tops for him, which yeah, he should retail for about 25-30. But of course, scalper's gonna scalp. But yeah, currently AliExpress is about the only place you can actually get him, unless you want to wait for like a restock. So yeah, which is unfortunately what happened to me. But yeah, link is in there if you do want it. So obviously, Bandai Spirits 2024, made in Japan. This is literally released within the past month or so. So it's the newest model kit I have built thus far, and it definitely shows. Real grade, RX-78-2 Gundam. What is this? EFSF. The Gundam purists in the comments are literally going to kill me for not knowing that. I believe it's Earth Federation Space Force, something like that. I probably just butchered that. I apologise. But yeah, standard one, Gundam 45th anniversary logo on the bottom corner. Copyright at the top. Nice render of him on the front as well. You will notice on the head, the little sort of cannon parts, I think they're called Vulcans, is it? Are correct on the head. On the kit, there is an issue where the sides of the head don't quite fit on snugly enough. So yeah, you don't actually see them fully. They're kind of submerged. But like I said before, you really don't notice it in person. So yeah, on the side we have some pictures. There is the inner frame, which looks quite strange because of the coloured parts that they used for the interior. Comes with the core block, a little fighter, which actually makes up his torso, surprisingly enough. Bit of a shame that you can't pose both of them at the same time, because being part of the suit itself basically makes it impossible for the suit to stand up without it. Another image on this side. More on this side, no glue, use a nipper, blah 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 blah. I didn't need a single dab of glue on this guy at all, by the way. It all went together seamlessly. Nothing feels as if it's going to fall apart. Good stuff. And obviously the Gundam info thing on that side. So yeah, let's take a look at his accessories. So yeah, in terms of accessories, he doesn't come with a whole lot. It's just like a standard affair. He comes with 2 beam saber blades, which are kind of like a reddish pink this time around, which is quite nice. One of them is warped, unfortunately. I am not sure whether that's intentional or not. It might have just been warped in the package for me. But yeah, not really going to notice. And at this point, I do have quite a few. You also have the beam sabers on the back. Teaser for the back of the mobile suit. I did customize this guy. I apologise. I couldn't help myself. But yeah, those just stick into his backpack really nicely. He has 3 sets of hands. He's got a pair of fists, which are on him currently. A pair of splayed open hands. Pair of gripping hands, mostly for the beam sabers. Strangely enough, they are the high grade style, like sort of square peg. Usually real grades either use like a peg system on the weapon that fits it together and you have to separate the hands, or they are moulded in the correct shape for the beam sabers. But yeah, this time it's just square, which is a bit strange, especially considering how over-engineered these hands are. Like seriously, for some ungodly reason, the gripping hands and, spoilers, this trigger finger hand, which will forever be on the beam rifle, because it's just such a pain in the backside to put on. But yeah, they come in 3 parts instead of 2. You put on, like, basically the thumb on its own, then the fingers, then the back piece. At the very least, the back piece, there was absolutely no need for that to be a separate piece. I mean, I kind of get what they were going for. They were trying to hide the seam line that you usually get on the knuckle, for where you put the 2 pieces together. But at the same time, like, it never bothered me. You never notice it. And it's just made the hands an absolute nightmare to use, unfortunately. So yeah, that will be forever staying on the rifle. Speaking of which, it's really nice. There's a couple of different colours of plastic here. I did put on some stickers as well. So the foregrip does move side to side. It's on like a swivel in there. I don't know why, because you can't really use the swivel. Not sure why it was engineered that way. But yeah, the sight also goes from side to side, but I just like leaving it forward. Nice enough. Just your standard beam rifle, just with a bit of extra detail. you have the Hyper Bazooka, I believe it's called. This is really nicely done. You can actually see the separate rockets in the sort of magazine part there. So yeah, this handle also moves as well, works really nicely. I did use a bit of my markers to sort of darken the front, because it looked kind of strange, just being completely white plastic. Not that I'm ever going to use the Hyper Bazooka, because it's really big, really unwieldy, but you can store it on the back of the suit itself. This little nubbin here can flip down like that. You can either use it as a stand base, or you can slot the bazooka through like so. Yeah, the beam rifle can do that as well, but obviously with the hand being forever on there, I'm never going to use that. Let's be honest. And finally, he comes with his signature shield, which has a lot more detail than it usually does, especially once we do comparisons with the only other RX-78-2 I've got, which is the King Dong one, the bootleg. But yeah, it's not really a fair comparison at all, to be honest with you. But yeah, I have put on some of the real grade stickers, and I did panel line the mobile suit and the shield. So yeah, there's a lot of extra detail there. Really like it. Really like it a lot. The back is also quite detailed. Probably not as detailed as I would have liked, to be completely honest with you. I don't know why this grey section didn't just cover the entirety of the back. But at the same time, it's not really something you're going to see that often. Let's be completely honest. This section folds out. If I can get my fingernail into it. I don't think I can. Come on. That's what happens when you cut your nails just before you start recording. There we go. So yeah, the beam rifle would again attach to this little slot here, but we can't show that because of the hand. And yeah, the shield itself slots on quite simply to the mobile suit. You sort of take that back section there, you pop it on at the top, and then you pull it down, and that locks it into place really nicely. You do not need to use that handle whatsoever. I do really like that because I plan on posing this guy with the rifle in one hand and a beam saber in the other. So yeah, do really like that. And it pops back out the same way. You can also, if you fold that up, you see there's a slot there. There is a slot on the back of the backpack. You just swivel that in, and just like that, it's stored on the back of the suit. So yeah, all in all, a decent array of accessories. Could have came with more? Probably, but at the same time, what does the RX-78-2 really use anyway, apart from his normal array of accessories? So yeah, let's take a look at the figure itself now. So yeah, in terms of the figure, what is there to say? Like, it's honestly such an amazing piece of kit. I mean, I suppose the first thing we could probably do is pop this off. I will be using these pegs later in the video, just before it ends, so be prepared for that. But yeah, to get into the core block, what you do is, come on, bear with me 2 seconds, folks. There we go, just had to get my finger into it. So yeah, to access it, you basically pull this little clip up, and then you come to the forward the front part, you maneuver these pieces up, which at the same time reveals a nice little cockpit opening gimmick. You can just about see the core block in there. But yeah, at that point you can just slot it up and then pull that out. Clips in really well. You can then fold this out, fold the little wings out, and the top one like so. And just like that, you've got a nice little fighter here. It does come with a landing gear, landing wheels. I will not be showing that because I didn't take them off the sprue. I found absolutely no reason to do that, seeing as how I will never be displaying this thing separately. But yeah, it is cool that they have incorporated it. Just wish there was a way to display it separately, just to make it a bit cool. Just realised I forgot to pull out that bit, and the whole thing's just popped apart. Yay! There we go. Pop back in, please. Thank you. So yeah, let's get this back in. It does have an opening cockpit, but then it's so tiny. There's nothing you could possibly fit in there. So yeah, let's get this guy rebuilt. And there we go, he is back together again. So yeah, yeah, where to start with this guy again? For one, the panel lines on this guy are like amazing. They're really well thought out. Really lots of extra detail that you can put in with a port type marker. Link in the description if you need one. Nice little plug there. But yeah, even the real grade stickers are actually really good. A lot of people love to hate on the real grade stickers, but in my opinion, you can't really see them at all. I mean, I have started dabbling in water decals, but at the same time, these are much easier to put on, and they still absolutely look the part. Especially these new sort of eye stickers that they've used. If you can see right there up close, they actually have sort of a pupil or a camera lens in the middle of them. I didn't like them at first, but I have grown to really like them a lot more, especially because they've got a certain sort of sheen to them that a lot of the metallic stickers just don't have on Gunpla. But yeah, in terms of the yellow as well, I decided that instead of going with the orange panel liner, I would just go with the grey. I kind of wanted a more realistic, almost weathered look, which is why I went that way. I think it turned out really well, especially the vents as well. Went on so easily. Whenever you put a port type Gundam marker on this kit, it will just flow wherever it needs to. But yeah, you will notice there are a couple of places which I have used those water type paint markers. I put a little bit of gunmetal onto the backpack and on some of the joints, just to make them pop that little bit more than just having the standard grey. I appreciate the fact that real grades, especially this guy, have got quite a lot of different coloured parts to them. But yeah, that extra bit of sheen does wonders for it, in my opinion. It really does. But yeah, overall, I cannot fault the design of this guy whatsoever. Like I said before, there is a slight issue with the Vulcans, but that is really not noticeable when it's on your shelf. Especially the fact that the Vulcans are grey this time instead of yellow. That is obviously a stylistic choice because it's a real grade. They wouldn't have looked as good in yellow, I don't think. But yeah, in terms of articulation, this guy, he's decked out to the nines in articulation, he really is. The neck can go way up to there. Like, they completely redesigned how the head attaches to the body. It's not a ball peg getting into the head anymore. It's a sort of hinge, the ball peg, going down into the chest section. So yeah, you get a lot of range out of that. Swivel, you get loads of it. If it's actually down there, it's kind of hindered, but it still gets the job done. Apologies, the paint on the backpack is still a little bit wet. I kind of rushed into this review. But yeah, it doesn't have much tilt side to side. That is one drawback of this new system they're using. But yeah, still gets the job done. The shoulders, they actually work similar to how the 3.0 figure arts do, and that they are slotted in before the arm. They're not attached to the arm anymore. So while it doesn't really allow you to pull the arm out any without this moving, that gets completely out of the way anyway. Like, that's completely vertical. And you get lots of range there. You can also pop the joint itself out a little, and that gives you a lot of butterfly range. So yeah, it can get a little bit overwhelming with all these different paint. that's getting annoying. Yeah, it can get a little bit overwhelming with all the different joints, which surprisingly, this was a dead easy build for being real grade. Like, yeah, both sides of the shoulder do move. So if for whatever reason you want that to go forward, you can. But at the same time, that still looks a little bit silly. So if anything, you're probably better off just moving it around instead. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Bicep swivel. Double joint at the elbow, which gets pretty much complete range. Like, there's no issue there whatsoever. A couple of new like bits of design that they put into this guy is there are a lot of slotting in pieces that once you slot in and move, they sort of lock into position and don't move. The arms and the legs both utilise that feature. Get a lot of range out of it for that, which is really nice. You do have a sort of wrist ball joint, which kind of gets some range, not a whole lot, but enough. Ball peg for the wrist. The abs are kind of strange. You can bend down about that much. Doesn't really get much range in terms of like where you would expect it to. That's purely because of the core block in there. So yeah, you get a swivel there, and you can also get a lot of pivot built into the waist itself. The skirt pieces, they don't move out a ton, which means you can get about that much, and then out to the side you can get about that much. However, the hips do have a drop down, which is sort of like a click drop down, which gives you the entire splits and the ability to kick much further out. So yeah. Sorry about that, folks, cheeky jump cut. The boiler in my room just went off there for some reason. Started making loud noises. That's really fun when you're trying to review. So yeah, we have thigh rotation, double joint at the knee, which, because it's a real grade, you get some really nice armour separation on the legs. And unlike the Wing Zero Custom EW, they go back very smoothly. In terms of the feet, you get quite a lot. It can pop forward and back, and that armour piece does move out the way slightly. That's due to a hinge they've incorporated. You also get some swivel, and lots of ankle pivot. Goes both ways, and you get a double toe articulation. Double. Yeah, it goes forward, then this middle pit moves as well. So yeah, really nicely done. I do appreciate all this articulation. So yeah, while he might not be the absolute pinnacle of articulation, he's got a lot of good stuff going. He really does. So yeah, last thing before we finish up, we'll do a couple of comparisons. Well, one comparison really, and that is with the King Dong. So yeah, at the time I was pretty content with the King Dong, honestly. It's still a great kit, especially for like 5-6 quid that it goes for. But yeah, it doesn't hold a candle to the RG. Simple as that. It really doesn't. Considering the fact that this is based off the high grade Origin Gundam, which is supposed to be the like more realistic take on it. So the fact that this guy blows him away in absolutely every detail possible is, yeah, that's just par for the course, really. The only thing this guy's missing that this guy isn't is a sort of shoulder cannon that you can put on, and the shoulder mounted gun, which at this point, that's probably what I'll put on this guy instead, just to differentiate the two. So yeah. Finally, I did allude to the backpack, the way it comes off. These two ports here actually fit the high grade system, which if we take the King Dong Wing Gundam's wings here, these should just pop right in. If I can actually see. There we go. And just like that, the RX now has the Wing Gundam's wings. So yeah, a lot of customization possibilities here, which is really cool. I love that they integrated that, like the real grade and the high grade line. They are similar in some aspects, so the fact that you can now swap things like backpacks is just, yeah, that's really cool to me. I like that idea a lot. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like I said before, link is in the description if you do wish to fork out a little bit more to get this guy before he officially arrives in like the UK or the States. I would say he's probably worth it, to be completely honest with you. This is now the best kit in my collection, hands down. Like, there is no contest at all. He will be taking centre stage with the rest of them. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And until next time, I'll see y'all later.